the entire hospital had fallen silent. Some of the country's best doctors had done everything they could, but hope was slipping away with every passing minute. Outside the intensive care unit, one of the world's wealthiest fathers stood frozen, unable to save the only person who truly mattered to him, his 8-year-old son. Expensive treatments, cutting-edge technology, and the greatest medical minds had all reached the same heartbreaking conclusion. Then, in the middle of that ordinary afternoon, a barefoot homeless boy quietly walked into the hospital carrying nothing but a small backpack, a kind heart, and a determination no one noticed. The security guards almost turned him away. Nobody imagined that this forgotten child would soon change not only one family's future, but the lives of everyone inside that hospital. Before we continue this emotional journey, please take a moment to like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to Kindness Inspire if you believe kindness and second chances can change lives. Your support helps us continue bringing inspiring stories to people around the world. The clear daytime sky stretched above the city as 39-year-old billionaire Adrian Whitlock stared through the large hospital window. The sunlight reflected across the glass towers outside, yet inside his heart there was only fear. For years Adrian had built one of the country's largest technology companies. His success had earned him respect, fortune, and influence, but none of it could protect his only son, Elliot, an energetic 8-year-old who loved drawing birds, collecting small rocks, and helping elderly neighbors carry groceries. Just a few days earlier, Elliot had suddenly become critically ill after developing a rare medical condition that progressed faster than anyone expected. Every specialist available had worked tirelessly, but despite their efforts, his condition continued to worsen. Doctors never stopped caring. They continued monitoring him around the clock, adjusting treatments, and searching for every possible option. Yet after exhausting the available medical approaches, they gently explained to Adrian that they had reached the limits of what they could do. They promised they would continue providing every possible comfort and care, but they could no longer predict a recovery. Adrian thanked every member of the medical team because he knew they had given everything they had. Still, as a father, accepting uncertainty felt impossible. Across the street from the hospital lived 12-year-old Micah Rowan, a homeless boy who survived by collecting recyclable bottles, helping shop owners sweep sidewalks, and running small errands for local businesses. Although life had given him very little, Micah carried an extraordinary sense of compassion. Every morning he shared leftover food with stray animals before eating anything himself. Elderly neighbors often smiled whenever they saw him because he never hesitated to help carry shopping bags or clean litter without expecting anything in return. Several years earlier, Micah had lost both of his parents in a traffic accident. Since then, he had survived alone with remarkable courage. An elderly retired schoolteacher named Mrs. Eleanor Briggs, 74 years old, often gave him old books to read beneath the public library's covered entrance. From those books Micah developed a deep curiosity about science, nature, and medicine. While he had no formal education beyond elementary school, he spent countless afternoons reading about the human body, first aid, nutrition, and emotional well-being. He never imagined those quiet hours would someday become meaningful. One bright afternoon, Micah visited the hospital cafeteria hoping to exchange collected bottles for a simple meal. As he passed through the waiting area, he noticed something unusual. Families filled every chair, yet the atmosphere remained unusually quiet. Nurses moved quickly but gently. A little girl quietly cried beside her grandmother. Everyone seemed to be carrying invisible burdens. Micah eventually learned that a young boy inside intensive care was fighting for his life. He didn't know the child's name or that his father was one of the wealthiest people in the country. To Micah, he was simply another frightened child who deserved hope. He quietly sat near the hospital's children's garden outside, where colorful flowers bloomed beneath the afternoon sun. There he carefully folded a small paper crane from a page torn from one of his worn notebooks. Mrs. Briggs had once taught him that paper cranes often represented hope, courage, and healing during difficult times. Beside it he wrote a simple handwritten message encouraging the child to stay brave because many people were silently wishing for brighter days. A volunteer noticed the thoughtful gesture and asked permission to place the paper crane and note near Elliot's bedside among dozens of handmade cards sent by children from local schools. Micah smiled. Then he quietly left. The following morning, something remarkable happened. When Elliot briefly opened his eyes, one object immediately caught his attention. Among expensive gifts and flowers, he reached toward the small folded paper crane. He carefully held it while reading the handwritten message. For the first time in days, he smiled. That smile did not cure his illness. But it reminded everyone around him that hope still mattered. Doctors noticed Elliot becoming more responsive during the following days. Encouraged by his emotional improvement, they continued carefully adjusting treatment plans while closely monitoring every positive sign. His recovery remained uncertain, but his renewed determination became impossible to ignore. Adrian desperately wanted to know who had left the paper crane. Hospital volunteers eventually located Micah. The billionaire expected to meet someone very different. Instead, he found a shy 12-year-old sitting beneath a tree reading an old library book. Micah politely explained that he simply wanted another child to know someone believed in him. Nothing more. Adrian felt deeply moved. Over the following weeks, Micah visited the children's garden regularly after receiving permission from hospital staff. He never entered treatment areas without approval. Instead, he spent afternoons folding colorful paper animals, drawing cheerful pictures, and writing encouraging messages that volunteers shared with young patients whenever appropriate. Soon many children began looking forward to receiving Micah's handmade creations. His kindness quietly spread throughout the hospital. Doctors, nurses, and families noticed something beautiful. Children smiled more often. Parents smiled too. Medical care continued exactly as before, but the emotional atmosphere slowly changed. Meanwhile, Elliot continued receiving expert treatment from his dedicated medical team. Gradually, his body began responding more positively. Every small improvement encouraged doctors to continue refining his care plan. Recovery remained slow, but each new day brought cautious optimism. Several months later, Elliot finally walked outside into the hospital garden. Waiting there beneath blooming trees sat Micah. The two boys spent the afternoon drawing birds with colored pencils. Neither cared about wealth. Neither spoke about hospitals. They simply laughed together like ordinary children. Watching from nearby, Adrian realized something profound. His fortune had purchased remarkable medical care. But genuine hope had arrived through the compassion of a child who possessed almost nothing. Adrian quietly asked Micah about his own dreams. The boy admitted he wanted nothing more than to return to school and someday help children the way hospital staff had helped Elliot. That conversation changed Adrian forever. Instead of offering temporary charity, Adrian partnered with local community organizations to ensure Micah received stable housing, educational opportunities, healthcare, and long-term support through established programs designed to help vulnerable young people succeed. Mrs. Briggs cried tears of joy. She had always believed Micah deserved the opportunity to shine. Years passed. Micah excelled in school through determination and countless hours of study. Inspired by the doctors who had cared for Elliot, he pursued education in healthcare with unwavering dedication. Elliot recovered fully enough to return to school, where he often spoke about the importance of kindness during difficult times. The boys remained lifelong friends. Neither ever forgot the hospital garden where their lives first crossed. Together they eventually helped establish a children's encouragement program inside hospitals across the country. Volunteers of every age created artwork, folded paper animals, read books, and spent time reminding young patients that they were never alone. Doctors frequently explained that while medicine treated the body, hope often strengthened the spirit that carried patients through difficult journeys. Years later, journalists frequently asked Adrian what had been the most valuable investment of his life. Many expected him to mention technology, business, or financial success. He always answered differently. The greatest investment had been believing in a homeless boy whose kindness asked for nothing in return. Because compassion has a way of reaching places money alone never can. Hospitals continued relying on science, skilled doctors, careful research, and dedicated medical professionals to save lives every day. Yet everyone who remembered Micah also understood another truth. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness becomes the beginning of someone's courage to keep fighting. Not because kindness replaces medicine, but because hope gives people strength to face tomorrow. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes kindness can change lives, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Kindness Inspire. Your support helps us continue sharing emotional stories filled with hope, compassion, and second chances. Special request, comment below, kindness gives hope. Let's fill the comments with this message and remind the world that even the smallest act of compassion can make an extraordinary difference. As the bright afternoon sun filled the hospital garden once again, children laughed among blooming flowers while volunteers folded colorful paper cranes beside them. Elliot and Micah stood together watching family smile, grateful not because life had been easy, but because kindness had found them during their hardest days. In the end, the greatest miracle was not that one child inspired another to keep believing. It was that one forgotten boy proved that a compassionate heart can change countless lives, one small act of hope at a time.